Hey everyone, welcome back to Road and Reel. Today we're going to take a break from the reel a little bit and focus on my wife's 2016 Hyundai Sonata Plug-in Hybrid Limited. Whew, that's a mouthful. It always seems like it is. Anyway, we're going to be changing the oil in this plug-in hybrid. It's pretty similar to anything else, the Kia Optima and the Hyundai Sonata. They're pretty much the same vehicle. Truthfully, the hardest part of this whole thing is going to be taking off that underbelly below the engine. And once we get that done, everything's going to be straightforward. So let's go ahead and let's get started. I went ahead, I chalked the rear wheels, kept the emergency brake on. I've got two jack stands, one on each side. I also still have that hydraulic jack up underneath just as a little extra security measure. If something does slip, hopefully that holds it and I can get out from underneath it. The oil we're using today is the Valvoline 520 weight. This is actually a synthetic blend. The only reason I went synthetic blend instead of the full synthetic was because I got this 5 gallons for $5 at AutoZone. Normally I recommend the full synthetic. It's what I put in all my vehicles, but this was just a heck of a deal, right? $1 a quart, you're not gonna beat that. I did not skimp, however, on the oil filter. This is a Hyundai oil filter. I paid more for this oil filter than I did for the oil. So, oil filters are very important. So I went ahead, I pulled the lever inside. I'm gonna open this up. The latch is just right here, by the way. You just slide your finger across and that opens it there. Hopefully these gas shocks hold. I've been having issues with these. These will be changed next. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to open up this oil filler cap. The reason I do that is so that whenever I'm draining the oil underneath, I don't have an issue with it trying to suck air or pull a vacuum and all that oil not draining out. So instead, what I do, I pull that off. That way the air can flow in while the oil is flowing out. And I'm sure to get more oil out or just a cleaner job up underneath when doing it that way. So now it's time to jump underneath this thing. So you can see here where I have the actual jack stand. If you take pretty much any vehicle and you follow this lower A-arm back to where it connects to the frame, that's usually a pretty safe place to secure a vehicle. And then right on the other side, right over here on the back side of it, there's another bolt where that subframe mounts, and that's where I've got my jack, and that's actually where I jacked this whole thing up. All right, now this whole center cover here is going to come off. These are the bolts that it takes to take those off. Now, once we remove all those bolts, this whole center panel right here is going to drop down from the back and then slide out. It's actually held up in here, up in the front with a lip, and so that'll slide down and out. Like I said, this is the hardest part of doing this actual oil change. Once we get this out, everything will be visible for us. Now, my weapon of choice is actually a little impact driver. Any driver will work. These are also 10mm bolts, so you could just use a ratchet. But this makes really short work of all this. So when I was pulling it out, I realized that I actually missed some bolts. So there's bolts up here on each corner. Right, that takes us to what, 10? And then there's 4 more here, so that brings us to 14 bolts. So it's just a little bit different. So if you just follow those bolts all the way around, you will get that down. Remember, it is made of like this weird paper material, so you don't want to break it, but you know, they always do sell spares. All right, now that we have that down and out of the way, we're looking for the drain plug, which is here on the back of the oil pan, and then we're looking for our oil filter, which is this blue one right here. It might be a different color, but for the most part, they all look the same. All right, my preferred method of catching this is these nice little flat cans. It's got a screen right here on the top. So this is a 17mm. I'm just using a ratchet, just give it a nice little bump. And I'll bring this up here, unscrew the bolt, hang on to it. Your fingers are gonna get a little messy. Right? And then I just catch it until slowly the stream will start coming straight down, because it's going to shoot out on you just a little bit at first. There we go. So now we'll just let that drain out. While it's draining, you can really smell the gasoline in this oil. So that's the thing with these plug-in hybrids. So what happens is that internal combustion engine just does not get a chance to heat up long enough to evaporate all those gas fumes. All right, once it drains, we're going to go ahead and put our bolt back in. And just like before, all we do to tighten it with our ratchet is we just get this on here and we give it a nice little bump like that. That's it. Doesn't need to be super tight. We just want to make sure there's not going to leak and it's not going to come loose on us. All right, now we're going to come over here. We're going to get on this oil filter with our catch can underneath it. And we're going to try to loosen it. This one is tight. So that's where this wrench comes into play. There we go. So this one's just a slip oil wrench. It does have a pivoting handle, which I really like. All right, line everything up. Just gonna do that until it drains before I remove that completely. All right, once it seems like it's for the most part drained, then we can bring this out. We're gonna bring it straight down. There we go. And we'll dump that upside down onto our screen. Now we have our new oil filter, and this one comes with plastic on it, so we're going to remove that. Right, we're going to get us a little bit of this. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to clean up. I've got some caking up here, so I'm going to clean this off up here. If it looks dirty, if there's anything stuck to it, I'll just go through here. Just clean that off really good. Alright, then we're going to take some of this old oil, we're going to smear it around on this ring here. We put it back up on here. We're going to get it nice and snug. Same wrench we had before, just now I'm reversing it. There we go. Again, not super tight. We just want it to where it's not going to leak and it's not going to come loose. All right, now that that's out of the way, it's time to put our oil in from up top. All right, this is one of those times where I cannot find the right funnel. All I have are my big long ones, so I'm just going to go ahead and try to pour that in here. All right, so first I'm just going to go ahead and pour 4 quarts into here. Once I get to the 4 quarts, I'm going to go down below, I'm going to check for leaks and then button everything up. And then once the car is level, I will put that last final 0.33 that it calls for. I'm sure that I don't have any leaks. I've cleaned everything up so I can get back up underneath here and wrestle this little cardboard piece back into place. Now, we've got 2 bolts, or 2 bolt types, I should say. You can see this first one, it's a coarse threaded bolt, and this other one is a fine thread. It's kind of like a machine thread. Let's see. There we go. Okay, these bolts go in the front. These bolts will go on the side. They go in those little C-clips that go through the other type of cardboard. So now, for putting these bolts in, I actually have settings on my impact to lower the torque. To where I'm not going to twist these off or pull anything through. If you don't have that, you're just going to give it a nice little quick bump. And if you're unsure of that, do it by hand. I just did one more inspection, made sure everything was tight. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to jack this up, remove these jack stands, and then get everything down nice and level so I can go ahead and top off that oil. All right, we're all level. Go ahead and check this before I start filling anymore. I am right at the very bottom here. All right, so I'm just going to slowly add. I'm just a little over 4 quarts in. So just a little over 4 quarts in now. Take this out, clean it, check the dipstick. All right, and I am right at the top of the acceptable level here. I figure some of that's going to swirl around, get on the inside of that engine. Okay, clean everything up. Any of my spills now. Don't forget to put your oil filler cap back on. And while I'm in here, might as well give this a nice little clean up. And now it's time to go ahead and clear that service light. So this is super easy to clear. Just on that surface required menu with all your doors and everything shut, you're just going to press and hold this down and it resets. And now it'll say service in 3,700 miles or 91 days. If you want to change any of this, you just go into your user settings and find the service interval right there. Click OK, and then I can actually change my service interval. So this one has it actually set to 3 months. I don't know why. Right, all depending on your driving and everything. Yeah, you can go about every 6 months. I believe that is what Hyundai recommends. Save it, and there we go. So there you have it. Actually not too difficult at all. I think that anybody could do this job. It just takes a 10mm socket, 17mm socket for the drain plug, oil filter wrench, and just a little bit of finesse to get that undercover, that carriage cover off there. So again, make sure that once you do get everything up to operating temperature that you check that dipstick at least one more time. Make sure that everything's settled out, right, in the right location on that dipstick. You don't want to be too far under or too far over. And again, if you like this video, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe. Also, check out some of my other videos. Check out my Instagram at Road and Reel. I'm not always just about working on cars. I do a lot of stuff outdoors as well. And like always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Oh, and make sure that you unchalk those tires before you go backing out and running everything over.